Chapter 32 Four Kings in Shadow. It was a scruffy town to bear the name of Four Kings, lying on an intersection between the Camelin Road and the road to Lugard, used as a stopover by merchants. It was filled with wagons watched by bored guards that hassled the local women, who walked with their eyes down to avoid attention. Some of the wagoners' comments to the women made Rand blush, and it was no surprise few women walked around. They jumped off the wagon they hitched a ride on, but soon the ambience of the town had Rand questioning if they should stay. Matt was disdainful of sleeping under a bush, since they'd got used to a warm bed. Anyway, the clouds promised rain, maybe even a storm. Each of the gaudily painted inns had musicians already, so they soon thought they'd have no choice to move on anyway. Finally, they found the dancing cartman, which stood silent. Only half a dozen men sat around the common room, outnumbered by the serving maids, which showed business had once been better. Yet despite the idle hands, the room was filthy, dust and cobwebs everywhere. As the first peal of thunder rumbled, a bony man with long stringy hair and a long greasy apron approached. He was the first skinny innkeeper Rand had ever seen, and he asked them what they wanted, either order a drink or get out. Rand told them of the entertainment they offered in return for room and board, but the innkeeper claimed he already had a man who played the dulcimer. A maid called out that the man is a drunk Samuel Hake and hasn't been seen in 2 days. Hake backhanded the woman, making her fall and smash a mug, which he told her was being docked from her wages. The lack of reaction by anyone showed this was a common occurrence. When Hake caught sight of Rand's heron-marked blade, he offered them food and pallets in a storeroom, but if they don't fill his common room, he'll toss them out into the street. He pointed to 2 burly men who sat by the door, acting as his security, to show just who would be doing the throwing. Wishing there was another inn they could use, the boys agreed. As they set up on the raised stage, Rand kept his sword within sight, having noticed Hake's interest in it. Wearing it as he performed would attract too much attention. They didn't need to stick out in people's minds and leave a trail for the fade to follow. The news of their music began to spread and the inn started to fill. Thunder cracked outside, but the rain had yet to come, though the pressure built in the air. By dark the rain had begun, and the common room was full. Men argued over having Matt juggle or Rand play his songs, resulting in several fights. A knife flashed to the scream of a maid, and a man staggered back covered in blood. The bouncers, Jack and Strom, threw both parties out into the night. Whenever they had to rescue maids from the hands of the patrons, Hake would shout at the girls as if it were their fault. Everyone jumped when Hake frowned, but each time he saw Rand's sword he would smile. During a switch between their acts, Rand warned Matt that Hake planned to rob them. Matt nodded in agreement and said they should bar their door that night. Rand pointed out that would be little obstacle to the guards. Maybe they should just leave. Matt agreed but said they should wait until after they've eaten. A new patron caught Rand's eye for being so out of place in this dingy inn. He had a plump look and wore velvet expensive clothing. He made the maids and patrons uneasy, and whenever someone tried to join his table, a single look would make them leave him alone. He stared at Rand and Matt with a smile of recognition. Both boys felt as if they should know him, as a missing memory tickled their minds. Hake tried to prevent them stopping for food, but the boys threatened to leave unless he honoured their deal. While they ate in the kitchen, they discussed leaving again, and overheard the maids gossip about the rich man. He'd ridden into Four Kings in a carriage, well into the evening, and his horses clearly winded. He'd visited every inn before stopping here, the worst one in town. Rand belted on the sword and stepped outside to have a look at the carriage, which had Howell Goad written on it in gold lettering. Shuddering, he recalled seeing it in Whitebridge, and turned to re-enter the kitchen. Rand found Matt working on his 3rd plate, and told him that Goad came from Whitebridge. Matt asked if he was a dark friend, and Rand thinks that he may be, but leaving now would cause a scene. Hake barged into the kitchen with the bouncers and demanded they return to their performance. As they played, Rand pondered that the inn was a good trap, and felt Goad's eyes on him the entire time. Whenever Matt wasn't juggling, he would clutch at his dagger within his coat, and Rand prayed that no one saw it. They didn't need more motive to rob them. Whenever he glared at Goad, the man would just smile knowingly, until his gaze fell on Rand's sword, which he'd left belted on since their meal. Rand hoped the man thought he knew how to use it and would leave them alone. Eventually the common room emptied as people retired for the night. Goad was the last to leave and was shown to his room. With the bouncers at his back again, Hake collected the boys to show them where they'd be sleeping. When Matt asked why they needed an escort, Hake replied in a hard voice that he had property to protect. Rand told him to lead the way. He doesn't like people at his back. They led down a dark corridor to a storeroom in total disrepair. It was leaky with drafts and obviously hadn't been used in some time. Rand told Hake it'll do and leave the lamp. For a moment he thought Jack and Strom would jump them right away. He soon realised they would wait until the boys were asleep, and when he closed the door he saw Strom standing guard outside. The boys piled barrels and pallets against the flimsy door and found wedges on a shelf to use underneath it. Thunder boomed above them as they looked to the window as a route to escape. They found it encrusted in dirt and couldn't open it more than a slither. They saw iron bars on the outside and Matt cried, "Blood and ashes! No wonder Hake wasn't worried about us slipping out." Matt found a crowbar and insisted on trying to pry the window open further and move the bars. They used the thunder to disguise the noise of their efforts, but to no avail. The door creaked as if someone was trying to open it, and Matt clutched his dagger as Rand shouted at them to go away. They were trying to sleep. Howell Goad's voice called out that Hake and his minions won't be bothering them. He needs to speak to them. Rand told him they have nothing to speak of, so go away. Goad laughed as he called out, "You know full well that we do. Already you halfway belong to my master. Stop running and accept it. Things would go much easier on you. If the Tar Valon hags find you, you'll wish you could slit your own throats before they're done. Only my master can protect you from them." Rand told him they have no idea what he's talking about and leave them alone. Rand wondered how many men Goad had brought with him in the carriages. Goad called out again, "Stop being foolish. The great Lord of the Dark has marked you for his own. When he awakes, new dreadlords will be waiting to praise him. You must be two of them. Else why was I sent to find you? Think of it. Life everlasting and power beyond your dreams. I tire of this. You will submit to your master or you will be made to submit. That will not be pleasant for you. The great Lord of the Dark rules death. He can give life in death or death in life. One way or the other, your running is at an end." Heavy bodies slammed against the door, and trembling it began to open bit by bit. Goad kept telling them to submit, and Matt suggested playing along. They can escape later, but right now there's no way out. Lightning kept crashing overhead, and Rand felt like his ears were stuffed with wool, as he desperately thought on their need for a way out. The door moved more each time the bodies hit it, and Goad called out again and again. There must be a way out, Rand thought. Light filled the room, flooding his vision. The air roared and burned as he felt like he'd been picked up and thrown. He slid down the wall, ears ringing, and his hair tried to stand on end. He staggered to his feet in a daze and saw the barrels and crates were smouldering rubble. The window, bars as well, had blown open outwards and the roof sagged. The door hung on its hinges, but no one entered. Matt struggled out from under a pile of crates to Rand's relief. Matt fumbled as he asked if Rand was there, then suddenly laughed in hysterics. Rand asked him what happened, and shivering, Matt told him. "Lightning, Rand! I was looking right at the window when it hit the bars. Lightning! I can't see properly. Where's Goad?" There was no sign of anyone, and Rand hoped they were dead. Confused shouts came from above in the inn, and Rand insisted they move quickly. They grabbed their belongings, and Rand led Matt through the hole in the wall and into the black storm. Matt clutched at his arm as he staggered, unable to see clearly, and flinched as lightning lit up the sky. Rand stared in shock as the light illuminated the charred and smoking bodies of Goad's men. Stumbling, they fled Four Kings. As Rand looked back, he saw a silhouette of a man shaking his fist at the sky. Hake or Goad, he couldn't tell.
Thanks for listening. Please like, share and subscribe and help get a new channel off the ground. Thank you.